Hello everybody, Mannix here. Got a little knife video for you right here. If you'd like to see more knife reviews, flashlight videos, EDC videos, and so on, please feel free to subscribe. Hit that little bell notification button so you don't miss any of my weekly videos coming out. Let's get right into this review. This is going to be... actually, no, this is not a review. Sorry. Tongue memory there. This is a comparison video. It's still about folding knives, the main thing I make videos on this channel. But it's going to be the two Byrds, the Byrd Cara Caras right here. These are both variants of the Byrd Cara Cara 2 from Byrd, which, as you may or may not know, is Spyderco's subsidiary company. It's like they're cheaper models, overseas produced. Although some Spydercos are also overseas produced, understood. That's what these are. This is a direct comparison between the lightweight, the FRN version right here, and the G10 version. You may notice the blade shapes are quite different on these two. That's not an inherited difference of the handle material variants. They both come in this blade shape you're seeing right here closer to the camera. This blade shape is also available on this lightweight version of the Cara Cara. This happens to be the Wharncliffe edition. I happen to get this one in. There is no Wharncliffe version as I'm filming this in mid-late 2022. There is no Wharncliffe version of this G10 variant of the Cara Cara. You can only get the Wharncliffe version on the lightweight model. What I understand, that's the only way you can get the Wharncliffe. So you really want this Wharncliffe blade, you have to go with the lightweight model. You can't currently get it on this one. I'd imagine you might actually be able to perform a blade swap. I don't see why you wouldn't. Because again, the FRN, the lightweight version, uses the exact same blade as this if you get it in that model. So if you wanted to get both like I do, you might be able to actually swap that blade to this one if you really wanted to. But anyway, these are pretty much the exact same knife other than the handle material. Again, we have FRN right here on the FRN version and G10 on the G10 version. Now, there are some other minor differences. For example, we have parallel mounted steel liners on the G10 version, and we have flush mounted steel liners on the lightweight version, which also possibly contributes to its even more lightweightness, if you will. The liners are probably thinner. I didn't measure them or anything. I didn't take them out. I don't feel like going that in-depth for this because it's not that big of a deal, but they are probably thinner, and they are nested in there. They're flush mounted, so they're taking up less space, but you can see they are clearly showing on the G10 version right here. They're skeletonized on both models, as you can see in there. Pretty aggressively skeletonized. They're drilled in just to lighten it, maybe by 0.15 ounces or so. It really doesn't make that much of a deal. It's kind of a fad. I don't know how much people care about lightweight knives these days, but I remember even just like 8 years ago, knife reviews, people were going nuts. Like, oh man, they didn't skeletonize the liners. What's wrong with them? You really don't lose that much away from skeletonizing them, but it is what it is. And if you want to be as light as possible, sure. Pretty sure the pocket clips are exactly the same. The handle shapes are exactly the same. Again, imagine we had the same exact blade shape on both these knives. Really, the only difference is the handle materials and how the liners are nested in there. So we have different patterns it's going to come down to. Now, a big factor that everyone will care about is price. This one's cheaper than this one. This one retails at $72.50. This one retails at $50.50. $50.50 US cents. However, in the aftermarket, I've seen these as low as $36. These I haven't seen much lower than $50. So we're looking at about a $14, $15 difference. This is going to be about, let's just say $15 more than this one, wherever you get it. So 15 extra bucks. Is it worth it? My answer is yes, if you want that extra elegance. We have a nice stainless steel backspacer on here as well that is also skeletonized, almost like a little checker cutouts in there. It's actually really cool. Very elegant looking. You can see there are liners poking out where the backspacer, where the lock bar is, and you cannot see them right here on the right. We have an FRN backspacer on the lightweight. Again, that's pretty much the main difference is the liners and the handle scales. There's other minor differences as well, like we have some jimping right here on the spine of the FRN handles. We do not have any on the G10 model. It's more smooth. The jimping on the blades are exactly the same. We have them both underneath the blades as well on the Ricasso. That's a really nice touch. I like that a lot. But we have more traction on the lightweight model. Just kind of like the Spyderco Endura, if you're familiar with that. Exact same concept right there. I do like fondling with the G10 model more. It feels like a higher quality knife, even though, again, we just have thicker liners as well as G10 handle scales. Everything else is exactly the same. It feels more elegant. It feels higher quality. It feels more solid. More fun to play with, I think. It's just more elegant. I like how the lock bar kind of fades into the liners as well. It's very gorgeous looking, in comparison to the lightweight model anyway. This one also fun to play with, you know. They're both not expensive knives, it's a little bit more, but this is a user. They're both users. You know, they're not really collectibles. You could collect them if you want, but another functional advantage this one has is that it is lighter weight. I don't remember the weight offhand. I want to say this one's 3.3, maybe 3.25 ounces or so, but let's get out my scale and let's find out, because functionally speaking, that is an advantage this one has other than just weight. Yeah, 3.13. Oh, it was teetering there. 3.13 ounces, and on the G10, 4.15. So it's basically just an ounce heavier. Not a big deal. So 15 bucks more and 1 ounce more weight. So if weight is not something you want and you don't want to spend more money, which I imagine you don't want to spend just like the rest of us do, this one has two disadvantages in comparison to the lightweight model. However, there is one advantage other than it's kind of subjective. This is subjective, kind of cool. I'm talking about it feels more solid and it feels more elegant, looks more elegant. That's all subjective. I can't tell you if a knife feels better other than ergonomics, I guess. But it's not more ergonomics. It just feels like a nicer knife. But again, that's subjective. I can't tell that you would think it also feels better. I just personally think it does. I think you probably will, but I can't prove it or not. Functionally speaking, though, I can say from experience, this one does actually have a better side-to-side lockup because G10 is more dense than FRN. Technically, it is a little bit stronger. And on top of that, again, we have most likely thicker steel liners right there. So that all being put together, we have stronger side-to-side. So if you're going to cut into something and really start torquing in there and twisting and prying, which I don't recommend you do with most folding knives, you probably want to get something even stronger. But this is actually pretty tough. Those liners will actually help in that. Some people say you don't need steel liners. Yes and no. It depends on what you're doing. Generally speaking, no, but as soon as you start twisting and prying, you can completely ruin the mechanics of the pivot screw in there if it was too weak. It's just, I don't know the exact science, I don't know the exact mechanics behind it. It's very technical, but if you pry even just a little bit or really try to bend if you try to bend a cheap M-Tech knife out of place or something by holding the blade and the handle, you can completely ruin the mechanics. It'll start having a lot of side-to-side even though it's tightened down. It might be ripping the threads, I don't know, but basically this just has better side-to-side torque. It's stronger. Stronger, a little bit heavier, a little bit more expensive, a little bit nicer. This one's the go-to. I want to save as much money as possible and just have a usable knife. You could argue that it is grippier. I like this sort of feathered pattern right here. I don't like it as much as the Volcano grip on the real Spyderco's, but it's still, it's grippy. And then, of course, you have the jimping up here, if you care for that. This one, we do not have jimping on the spine, but we have G10 grip, which is more like a mild sandpaper grip versus a cutout style grip. It's just different. It's up to preference. Which one's grippier? It's really hard. It's kind of like comparing apples to oranges. They're just such different types of grip patterns, different handle materials. You know, if anything, I'm going to say the G10 is a little bit grippier, actually. FRN not quite as much, but they're both grippy. Does it matter that much? Maybe not. But again, you want some elegance, you want some extra strength, you don't mind spending the extra money, you don't mind the extra weight. G10 one's for you. If you just want a straight up user and you're not going to be doing much torquing, you're just going to be doing typical box cutting and cutting zip ties, straps, opening packages, the typical EDC stuff, the lightweight model is going to be your choice. They're both excellent knives. You can swap the pocket clips to all four sides, which is nice. They both have the exact same blades, same locking mechanisms, same shapes. Only difference is the handle materials. That's it. They're both worth it. They're both good for their own reasons, and neither of them are expensive. So if you can't decide, you can just buy two of them. There's no harm in that. Most likely, you'll be able to buy two of these before even buying one single real Endura. That's just how much more expensive they are now. But both great knives. There is no real winner. It just kind of depends on what you're going for. So anyway, that is it. That is the Cara Cara Showdown.